LP, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. How's it going, Scott? Long time.
Yeah, I know. Too long. Too long.
Yeah. For sure.
You get a few billion more streams on Lost on You, you're going to have everybody on the planet.
I know, it's crazy, right? What a concept.
Yeah. It's amazing, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I know, obviously we were just talking about how COVID has basically stuck everybody in their houses for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
But you did this kind of virtual live stream tour.
Yeah.
How did you find that experience?
Lonely, yeah, a different experience. It's like, it's like anything. I mean, I have, I think what I've learned in this career of mine that's been so, winding is that perspective is really one of your biggest blessings and biggest assets as far as your career, and like what you've seen, what you've already been through, that makes you appreciate what you've got more when you get it. That makes you, again, appreciate the luck involved in a way, even though obviously it's, it's work and talent and all that stuff, of course, but there is also an element of luck, ultimately, I think, in anyone's career, timing and all that. And I think that, I really got to kind of understand what it meant. I mean, your initial question was?
Well, no, just how you found the live stream performance experience.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. So I've sang to nobody, so it's like I'm used to. I can recall that that level, on the early days of like singing to a bartender, stuff like that. So I feel like I could get it, and now I've sung to a whole nother number of people. So it was kind of a weird thing to like have the silence, but you're in your ear and ears, you're like kind of cut off anyway. And I also felt like it felt like one long nighttime performance, like a Letterman or Fallon or something like that performance, where you're just like, like there's like the audience set way back, and so you can kind of picture that as like a soundstage thing. But it was it was a little unnerving. I mean, it's also, I hadn't played in, gosh, like almost 10 months at that point, because I was on a break. My last show was end of November, and then so by the time March, when I was going to start tour again, rolled around, I was ready. So then, it was like extra time, and so it wasn't like, I wouldn't really invite a camera crew and everybody to record my first performance of a tour, but that's essentially what it was. Yeah. So it was good. You asked me, I'm telling you, listen, we're like, we're at home because of a pandemic. I mean, I'm going to mince words at this point. Yeah. It was hard, It wasn't my like favorite thing I've ever done, but ultimately I felt connected to fans. I felt like I missed them, and they could feel that, and I feel like they needed it, I needed it, and it
also, it kind of comes under the heading of, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, there's no. I changed. This is my first time in this room for a call today. I did all my like interviews and stuff from this room in my house. I was like, because if I see that freaking backdrop of my living room one more time on in this computer screen, I'm gonna lose my crap. You know what I'm saying? so I changed it up for y'all. Yeah.
Well, and we appreciate that. One of the other things that I've talked to a number of artists, particularly songwriters, about is this thing of doing Facebook or Zoom co-writes. Is that something you've tried?
Yes, I have. I had a really successful one with a guy, a lovely, wonderful Englishman named John Quamby, and he's just like so talented and so giving of a musician that it went really well. We got a cool song, but I don't recommend it. It's not really my thing. I'm more kind of keep it busy with the guys that I write around here with, that I've done, that I did Lost in You with, and many others. And we just keep rolling, keep testing, keep getting tested,
Sure.
and just doing our thing, our private circle. So I'm on to that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the new single.
Yeah.
You've talked about it, not to put too fine a point on it, but you've talked about letting it rip on this song. And there is this sort of remarkably athletic quality to your voice.
Yeah.
But the lyrical content is extremely heartfelt.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, as a songwriter, are you always looking for that tension between kind of the music and the lyrical content?
Always. Yeah. I thrive on that. I think. So you feel like? Do you feel like the melody doesn't meet the lyric on this one?
Well, it's not about meeting it. It's about kind of almost being in opposition. It's like it's like I'm going along, but if I'm listening to the lyric, I should be maybe crawling under the table. I'm not sure.
I think uncomfortability is the spice of life, and I'm always trying to juggle that ball in there, get it in. But yeah, no, I think you could feel the heated plea of this song.
Yes.
I think you could gather that I'm kind of wondering something, trying to figure something out. I'm always trying to figure something out, in my songs. I don't like kind of, and there's no rest for the wicked, as they say. Like, there's just not a solution kind of thing. Like that's what I offer up. I know it's like you need me to give you no answers. Full of no answers. Just let
But you
me
never. Yeah,
it.
I mean, I think the thing, certainly the thing with songwriting, and probably any creative endeavor, is you never actually figure it out.
No. No, I mean,
because that's what you create.
Yeah, and it's I think that is, first of all, I'm sure people, and I've been in relationships that are restful, and easier and more placid and serene. But I don't subscribe to those always. I think they also run their course. Like in my experience, I think it's always, your personal relationships, your romantic relationships, especially, hold the mirror particularly close to you. I think that as far as being a person that just skips off into the sunset,
yeah, it's not always lollipops and unicorns.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be always like angsty and difficult, but it sometimes is, and that's the place that I reside in as far as writing a lot of times. But there's other times, there's other things that I explore.
You wrote that song with Mike and Nate, and you've worked with them before, obviously. Why so much of making music is collaboration. Why does that collaboration work so well with those guys?
Well, having said all that angsty stuff, I think I don't have that with them. Like it is serene, and I can let my shit settle for a second, and there's just like an unspoken openness with all of us, and for all intents and purposes, we are at this point in our relationship almost like a band. Like we when we're off tour, we don't see each other, but actually when we're on tour, we don't see each other, and sometimes, and when we're not writing or creating, we don't necessarily see each other. When we see each other, we're like concerned about each other's well-being and our families and all the things, and we we have all kind of succeeded together, which is another level of what happens when you do well in a band. And that's also something that like cements and like makes a relationship more intricate and more trusting and more, you're like, there's like, oh wow, we have a good chemistry. Let's all, get together and make this happen. And then, oh shit, you know, it's proven that we have good chemistry. It's proven that this works. So let's thrive together and let's build it. And there's a level of trust and growth in there in a really
Yeah.
cool way. And we can, I think we let each other do who's ever best at what in this scenario now. And some of us like go off into, other lands where we do what the other ones do in other scenarios, which is cool because we're all in there. But our particular relationship works very well. Like, we went away to Cabo in Mexico where we wrote the one that you love.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. We wrote, I felt like I already had the record, like we already had the record. And we wrote another 8 songs there. So, including that one. And they all felt really good. And so, yeah.
Were you did you come to co-writing naturally? Was it a natural thing for you to sit down and write a song with somebody else?
Actually, yeah. I mean, maybe in the very beginning, no. I mean, it's hard because I think not really at the beginning. My major label climb started in 2006. So that was my first major label deal. And that was, between 2006 and 2009, when I was on Island Def Jam and Universal, I wrote like 140 songs. And it was like, it was basically like, no records came out, as from that.
Yeah.
But that was like going to songwriting school. I mean, I wrote with like Billy Steinberg and Desmond Child and Lauren Christie, like The Matrix, whatever, like all those all these big like pop songwriters, and I was just like, wow, what? It was just wild to me, and I just I feel like songwriting is something you can sort of learn from other people, but it's also not. It's like it's something that you have to consistently do, I think, and you find your way. Like even I can see so many songs that are stepping stone songs for me to other songs. And
is that when you kind of look back at songs that you wrote maybe years ago and you now recognize that they?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, like I'll give you one, and it's not even out. It's just out in it's on YouTube and stuff from this live EP. I have this song called "Fighting with Myself," and when I look back on that song, I'm like, oh shit, that was a precursor to Lost Idea. It has that kind of same like kind of old kind of like swagger, and I think. But I mean, as far as like songwriting, collaborating goes, I feel like I grew to love it. There were times when because then not only I went from being the artist in the room where everyone was like, you feel that? Are you feeling it? You want to talk? So you do what you want to talk about this. You want us to help you with this content? To being the person who was doing that, and that was wild. Like kind of like where you come in like with your sunglasses on and you look at this kid sitting there like, and you're like, you know what I see? And the kid's like, what do you see? I'm like, I see you in front of thousands of people talking about this, and then you just give them a title and they're like, and either you see that they like it or they don't, or, they want to play the game.
Eyes get really wide.
Yeah, it's like it was there's so much, if nothing else, collaborating on songs so much has made me better at being social. Like I literally I remember like I could write a song with your grandmother. I remember literally having a party at my house and the cops came and that opening up the door and being like, hey, how you guys doing? What do you think? Like as if we're about to come here, we're gonna write a song together. Like, I don't give a fuck about you, you know, like shut up. You know, I was like, keep it down. You know,
Songwriting is socialization, skill
yeah.
training.
Yeah, I just felt like, you know, everybody I met, I felt like I'd be like, you know, like, so anyway, I think on the bridge, you know, it's just getting out of hand, you know. But yeah, collaborating is very easy for me at this point, and also really frees me up. Like I feel very like, and it depends. The thing is, you have to lose your ego a little bit in that sometimes you're like the genius in the room that came up with everything, and sometimes you you know, spat a melody, one or like a lyric that helped it along, or like so. It just depends. Not on my stuff, you know. I'm the genius all the time, but I steer the ship the most on my own stuff. But like sometimes I'll be in, you know, I give this example like of Atlantic for a while had it, you know, I think they still do it, but like I called it the chop shop, and I love Atlantic, and I love a lot of the artists, and you know, Craig Kalman, and I'm a fan of the label in general. But their whole songwriting thing, where they put everything, you know, they put a bunch of songwriters in there, and everyone's contributing, is a little unnerving. You know, you go in there and you're like, just spit a bunch of melodies and hope for the best, or a lyric, you know. And I had this one guy, this record executive, say to me like, you know, you're really good at melodies, you know, like as if like, you know, like you're not so much with the lyrics. And I'm like, I was like, no, somebody's got
Thanks so much.
my lyric tattooed on their body. Shut up, you know, kind of like stuff like that. You know, I was like at that point where I'm like, I don't care what you say. Like I'm almost like, it made me almost impervious to criticism in a way, and like that, like, you know, thick-skinned and
yeah, you got to get a thicker skin about it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the video for the song has gotten quite a lot of attention, and if I understand correctly, you shot it where they shot parts of Westworld. Is that right?
Yeah, I was like, because I was in the middle of watching that at the time, and I was like, wait, you know, like, and then they took us to this house. We didn't shoot at the house, but we went up to the top of the hill where that house that she walks out of. I don't know if you watch it, but like,
no, I know it.
She walks out every day and goes, "Hi, Daddy."
Yeah.
You know? But I was like on the porch where, like my view. I was standing on the porch, like watching the scene. But it's yeah, it was beautiful. It's like I think 8,000 acres owned by you know, I think like a Saudi Arabian family or something like that. You know, it's like, all right.
Yeah, you did, however, in that video, you know, you violated a long time show business maxim. You know this. Don't work with kids or animals.
Oh yeah, that's right. Who said that?
Oh God, that goes.
I could have said it. I don't know. It's like,
you know, like Jack Benny or somebody. Who knows? I don't know.
John Ford. Like, who knows? I don't know. John Huston. Who's the guy? John Huston. Sorry.
John Huston. Great.
There you go.
Great director. Yeah. I mean, the video kind of tracks to a story. You're on a horse. You're going to town there. How engaged do you get with kind of the conceptual aspect of video making?
It's also a collaboration. You know, like we talk about. You know, that this in particular was weird because this is one of the first productions like back to come.
So you did this during COVID?
Yeah, like this. It almost didn't happen like, you know, 5 times. It wasn't like it just you know, up and go, because we had to, you know, had to be done carefully and all the stuff, and so we just we tried to think of things that were like easier to do safely. And so we were talking about being in a car, and I was like, oh, I can't be in a car. First of all, again, myself, and everyone's always in a car. You know, I was like, no cars. And I was like, maybe I could be on a motorcycle, some green screen. So I get weird.
I like the motorcycle idea.
Yeah, then he said a horse, and I was like, oh man, that's a great idea. And I didn't, you know, I mean, I tried to keep it, you know, I picked the brown horse because I didn't want to be like the black or the white stallion.
Yeah.
the brown hat because I was almost going to do the white hat with the white thing. I kind of looked like I was at a lesbian wedding when I put the white hat. Not so much. I mean, and Greta, I love you guys, but I'm gonna go. But yeah, it was very. It was like I was trying to make it a little bit more. I don't know, my own. Like kind of take a couple of the real kind of cliches.
Yeah.
Get them out.
Well,
But,
it's fantastic.
oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it felt really good. I feel like I also like my thing with a first single on a record is always to try to be like a bit of a kind of tone setter, possible palate cleanser, and to make it, where are we going? Because to be honest, I don't think that song is not indicative of the rest of the record. It's an entree into the, you know, the house that is going to be this record, obviously, and there's a lot of rooms in there. So I'm excited.
Well, we're excited to hear the record. But I want to talk about the live set that you released. What was it about that show in Moscow that was so good?
Well, I feel like there was great energy to that show. I knew there was going to be that's like a 6,000 person theater, and I played it already. That was like my third or fourth time playing it, and I know that like the Russian crowds are fantastic, and they're always, very giving, and all the crowds are. I mean, if I could take you through like a 2-minute montage of all these countries, and that's what's beautiful about all different artists. I'll go into a friend of mine's career and be like, wow, all these people are like, fanatics. They're like, they love this band, and they're like go crazy at every show, and mine are no different, and except that they're mine, and I love them. And I just, I don't know. I think I was like the live album that most sticks in my head, and I don't know it back to front, but I always thought it was just sounded really cool and looked really cool. Was Live in Budokan, by Cheap Trick. And,
one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people's all-time favorites. It's like a big, and just I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but the exoticness of Budokan in the title is just like, oh shit, really? First of all, where's Budokan? And like Budokan, yeah, like you instantly know that's not like in our country, right?
Yeah, it's not Arkansas.
Like Budokan's in your country. You're like, and Moscow I know is not as exotic, but I think for us it is, and also. I have the word lubov. I'm not saying it right, but it's love in Russian. I tattooed on my inner arm, and it was because it was one of the things that growing up in this country. Still in this country, whatever it is, and our governments are opposed. It has nothing to do with the people in that country. Just like, listen, man, there are a lot of people in our country that I wouldn't want to walk by on the street, let alone sit down with, be in a family with, have fucking dinner with. It's like, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in hating or dismissing a full country of people because we had the Cold War, because whatever the hell it is, you know what I mean? These are like, we are all in a way, how it feels sometimes is like victims of our own government or hostages of our own government, as the case may be. Not to go super political on this, but again, the people is where it's at. And I felt, and I stand by it. Like Moscow has been a beautiful place to me. Russia, I feel like I don't go in there on a political stance. I don't have I go there on a personal. Kind of soul level, musical level, and I connect with people through music and through matters of the heart and the shared experience of being human. So I wanted to pick a place that was interesting.
Well, I mean, you absolutely get the sense of the energy from the audience.
Yeah.
As you listen to it.
Yeah, they're there at gunpoint for sure, you know. Like, you know, seriously, you know, I think.
Easy to get energetic when there's a Glock pointed at your head, you know?
We didn't show the audience much because some guns involved. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Is that fireworks I hear?
Yeah. It was a celebration. Show.
Yeah, no problem. You know, there are a couple of covers in the set. There's a Kings of Leon song, there's a Stone song, and way back when I was much younger and my beard was darker, we met when you did a Grammy Foundation event and you did a jaw-dropping cover of Radiohead's "Creep."
Forgot about that.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. What does a song have to make you want to cover it?
You know, it has to be able to be kicked up 2 whole steps from the original, so that I could just like split skulls at the end. That's one requirement. You know, I think for a reason, one of my most loved covers is Halo, and I remember picking that one out myself, you know, because I just wanted something that was super top 40, that was just kind of unpredictable. Like, I feel like the 2 covers I did in my newest set are more predictable, but it was kind of like a return to form for me to cover the Stones and Kings of Leon, because I feel like, even though, and it's funny because in my own country I'm like an alternative kind of indie, kind of underground thing in a way, you know, depending who you ask, you know, and depending if you've ever come see me play or not, you know, like, because I mean, it's not like I'm so underground. I mean, I'm in some substantial rooms, you know, but I feel like I still have that reputation here, you know, and in other countries. I just did a TV interview this morning with Italy. It's like, so you are a pop star, and how does it feel? It's like, I am okay. I'm like, you know, I live in alternative universes. Like, I call it the bubble. Like, you know, I'll come, like, even in like Russia, I'll be like, bloop. I'm in the airport and suddenly there's like someone like, you know, and I'm like, wow, I'm back in the bubble, you know, and it's just interesting. I try to, you know, hold the camera 1 second because I just lost my train of thought.
Not a problem. But we were talking about covers and so why you use them.
Yeah, and so the pop star thing, I was saying that I'm like, even though I am that, and that's where I go, I'm like, I'm really a rock singer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say, you know, for good or for ill. Like, what, you know, and this is all based on if you like it or you don't. I'm not like trying to toot my own horn where I'm like, I'm a rock singer, I'm not a pop singer, you know, like, but it's like, I basically, I don't have an identity problem, but I think people have a problem identifying me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you for the longest time, you know, the people don't know, and this is, you know, classic music industry BS, what bucket to put you in.
Yeah, and that was a big thing in my career. Even like as a younger artist, like that's, you know, why I had 2 major label deals. I mean, I had major label deals that weren't like, hey, here's 50 grand, you know, like I had like big promise you everything, sign your life away deals that didn't work out. And then 2 more of those to different levels of success. But I know what that's like to kind of lose yourself in that. And what I discovered was that then when I took my veered off into only songwriting, and I was writing for all these different people, all these different genres, and I purposely did that, and I worked really hard even to get into like the rooms that got me a Rihanna cut, you know. And I think I found myself through that because I don't like to be subjected to one genre. I like, even if I'm going to explain my sound right now, I couldn't put it in a genre, and not from some douchey, lofty place, just from the aspect of you can't really, in my opinion. And so when I picked those songs, Tangentially, I get back there, don't I?
Coming back around.
When I pick it, here we go. We're on the horse. When I like come back to the, like picking those songs, this was like kind of to remind, like little smack on the butt, go like, I'm actually, this is a rock show you're seeing, guys. By the way, pop song, schmop song, alternative, indie, my ass, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna sing your hair back.
Let me remind you.
Yeah, like you're here at a rock show, and I like it that way. So that was my way of reminding people and reminding myself that that's what we're looking at. What am I looking at?
So like I have to ask you about Lost on You, because that whole story about ending up on some guy in Greece.
Yeah.
Tell the story. How did this guy reach out to you?
All right. Well, the last time, listen, we've had 2 chats together, and the last chat in 2014 was definitely I was everywhere. I had just written, I think, was it 2014 when I saw you?
Yeah, at least. Maybe before that.
Maybe a little before. Maybe I don't know, maybe 13.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote Lost on You in 2014. I was still on Warner Brothers. And, not for nothing, but that Forever For Now, that record was already getting wildly overproduced. I think the last time I saw you, I was in songwriter hell.
Right.
And because it was just like, they were like, hey, can you, I'd had the Rihanna song and other, Christina Aguilera and all these different songs. And they're like, could you write songs like you're writing for them, for you? And I was like, I feel like I am, but I don't think you'd know a song if it bit you in the ass for one. For me, anyway. Like a song that would work for me.
Right.
Sure, I'll do that. Let me just squeeze a little more juice out of the already absolutely pulverized lemon. So I'm doing that whole thing. And then in 2014, in the summer, I'm not only in record label kind of like where they haven't even released Forever For Now yet, and a whole new regime of people come in and they change it all up, and these people are looking at me like I'm like on the other side of the desk, not even signed yet, like kind of like, I don't know about this one, like we might have to, like kind of thing, and I'm feeling it, Plus, my girlfriend at the time is fucking around on me with some dude. Let's get real here. We're home. Screw it. Nothing else to do. You want to hear a story? You want to hear a story? Okay, good. So I write the song, and then I wait for them to tell me, come in and play it for us. So I play them Lost on You. I play them a song called Muddy Waters off that record, same, and Strange. And, and I don't have to tell you what happened Lost on You, but, Muddy Waters was then, and I tell this story explicitly for those artists out there who, want to give up sometimes, are not being understood by their label, are on the brink, because this is what happens. So I have these songs, Lost in You, look it up. Muddy Waters was synced over 20, 25 times. In fact, it paid my next record deal with Vagrant, it paid that back in one sync, Strange was always been a crowd favorite, was just on a Samsung commercial for a year last year, at 5 years after the fact. So anyway, I play these 3 songs for these guys, and I get dropped. And I owed Warner Brothers, but they did me a huge favor. I'm being completely transparent here. I owed Warner Brothers $1.6 million.
Oh,
all right. Now, and that's from recording. That's because spare no expense. We're gonna push the button on this one.
Cha-ching. Yeah.
Bad egg, go down. That was it. And I was like, oh shit, this is my 3rd major label deal at this point. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll I'll release these on an indie, in an indie way. I hadn't even gotten signed to Vagrant yet. That was in January of 2015. And then I signed to Vagrant, and I get a little deal. I'm like, good, I'll put records out and I'll write for other people, and I'll have a nice, chill, kind of
good.
Yeah, I might have to tell the story wait, what are you doing? Thing a little more, but I'll live with it. Whatever, it's cool. I signed to Vagrant, and they're lovely there, and they really appreciate what I'm doing. And that's also a label at that time that I had like longed to be on. That's what I pictured for myself. This is always what I pictured. I didn't picture any. I pictured indie. I wanted indie success. I wanted to be in a label like Vagrant from the get-go and put out records and be respected and play venues actually smaller than I play now in America and just be like, hey, I did it.
I did it. I'm good.
That was a dream, you know,
Yeah.
always. It's like, I didn't know, you know, it wasn't like, I didn't look at Beyonce and be like, not that I'm not there, but I'm saying that wasn't like the goal. I'm like, you know what I'm going to be when I grow up? Beyonce. You know? So I didn't have that like delusional like sense. So anyway, so I started Vagrant, go on my merry way, and keep writing for other people and doing the thing. And I happen to be lucky enough to open for Brian Ferry from Roxy Music.
Cool.
In the summer of 2016, I'd already, you know, I was just kind of like writing and doing stuff in the meantime. And then during that tour, the whole summer, okay, so in the spring of that year, 2016, I just started like checking DMs on my Instagram, and I go on the Instagram DM thing, and I'm like, and I checked this one that like someone offered me a private show that I had already done a private show for, but like it was like somebody else threw it. It was like it was a thing that I lost a possible gig on from not checking these DMs. So I said I'm going to start checking these DMs. The second day I'm checking the DMs and I get this thing and I see it says Cobalt, but it's spelled different than Cobalt here. Cobalt here I think is with a
K.
A K.
Yeah, it's a K.
Okay, so Cobalt there is with a C.
Yeah.
In Greece, oddly enough, because they love K's. It's weird. But anyway, I digress. So we like, he goes, hey, listen, I really think your music would work here. I'm not getting an answer from your label. Would you mind giving me your manager and or publisher's thing? And I'm like, sure. I'm thinking he said he wants to license the music. I'm thinking, okay, TV or film. Cool, that's nice. I send him all the info and I forget about it. And then my manager like tells me 2 weeks later, he goes, yeah, it's wild, that the whole Greek thing's kind of working out. And I said, I'm not following. Well, he goes, we're like charting in Greece. I mean, and I was like, I don't know what that means. What's charting? Who charts? I don't know. That's not in my vernacular for me.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, they licensed the song there, like a label picked up Lost on You and put it out on the radio there, and it's going up the charts. And I was like, oh shit, really? How cool. Wow. And I'm like, yeah, sweet, whatever. So then, and then Italy came, and then France came, and another interesting part was that BMG bought Vagrant, so it was like a big label on there, like owning them now, and we kind of had to ask them if we could license it, and they were like, sure, with Greece. They're like, sure, with Italy, and then with France, it was like the sleeping giant was like, wait a second. What is this? Like, what's happening here? So then, but they were kind enough to let us license it through several. I'm on like 10 different labels in Europe, Then I came back here and they let me license it through RCA again, another American record deal for me. And I'm like, and now I have a whole nother thing happening, but I won't bore you with that. But but then the song just started to like go all over the place. And I went from, when I was on that tour with Brian Ferry, I went from having a show the 1st and the 2nd of September in Romania and Greece, believe it or not, a Romanian festival. And I didn't come home until the end of October. And then I went out again for all of November. It just kept going from there. And I haven't barely been home since. So, and I tell you that, if I had been on Warner Brothers, if they had kept me, there would be no phone call from Greece. There'd be no DM from Greece. That would be squashed immediately. That's worldwide. Nobody gets to do that. And so, it's a wild, wild story, man. It's just like you don't like, and that's what I talk about luck. Like
I was just going to go back to that.
That's where luck plays into it. See?
Yeah.
Don't ever doubt my storytelling. I know it goes on. I get back there like.
I know better than to interrupt. But I mean, the amazing, number one in 17 countries.
Yeah. I mean, right? And that's what I'm saying, man. I'm not saying for people to like hawk the same song around for like 10 years going like, but I swear I know.
This is it.
Yeah, but I will tell you that after I wrote Lost on You, I had written almost like 30 or 40 more songs past that. And I didn't know, like I did these beautiful interviews in some of these countries where it was just like really insane. And they'd be like, so you must have known when you wrote Lost on You that it was. So I was like, I didn't know anything, dude. I got dropped from my label. I got like looked at like, great, thank you so much. Like good night.
The hollow eyes. Yeah.
Oh God, and I've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
And so I know what it's like. It's like people that believe in you in this business. It's just like dating. Like sorry to be so coarse, but I know when somebody wants to fuck me when they don't. Like, hi, like I know what's going on. You don't get it. You don't have to. Like, God bless. Go with God. Bye.
That may be the best analogy I've ever heard for the music business, though. So we're running down on time. I just have a couple more questions. And one of them is about your voice, which is it's a remarkable thing. And I was interested to read at one point there was the quote where you said, "You're a belter, not a singer."
Not a singer? I don't know.
Look, that's the quote.
All right. I must have said it then. I can't remember.
So I don't know if you remember it, but can you explain that a little? What's?
Well, I mean, I guess what I thought I meant. I mean, I am a belter, but I can do all the things. But I just feel like I get to that point, and I've had to. Kind of pull it back and then not, some people I think would be like, I've been told all the things when I was like, back in the day, like less vibrato, less this, like you don't have to sing so high. It's just like, you know what? Do what you do. I'll do what I do.
Yeah. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. And I just like, I had to, but yeah, I am a snowball like anybody, like I roll everything up in there, I roll around. I'm just like, whoops. Did that idea. So I just like do what I do, take it all in, and it's been such a beautiful educational experience. And like I said, ultimately, the perspective is everything. I wouldn't change my perspective for the world. And I think the biggest accomplishment of my career, of my life, especially my career, is that I'm not bitter. I can look at things.
And given your experience, you could be.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Anybody could be, but I feel like when I tell these stories, some of them are like not palatable and not something like that you want to happen to you, and not fun, and some people I have a distaste for because I'm just like, how do you sleep at night, as John Lennon would say, But I feel like I learned a lot from it, and it makes me sit there when I'm on stage, in front of like thousands of people. I'm like, holy shit, like even before this pandemic, when I came home in November and my music just took off in Mexico and South America, and I'm so grateful, and I'm just like, wow, I just sit back, and I don't, and I would wish this feeling for everybody and anybody that embarks on this journey, because it's a journey, no matter if you hit it quick or hit it later, whatever time you hit it. I just felt like my whole soul was going, you did it. You did it. So I feel like I wish that on every artist I know. And my story, I tell it, and I will try to make it even more concise as I go on, but I feel like I try to tell it as interestingly as possible, because I feel like it bears repeating to inspire people who, you can't, when people say something is hard, there's no way to convey how hard. How hard.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody, I remember I have this thing story about I was in Amsterdam, when I was 21, I was just looking at MTV and oh God, I don't think I could do it. And then I felt like I've heard this like voice kind of go like, everybody's story is different.
It's different.
And that's what's cool. Like, I love that.
Well, first of all, we need to do part 2 of this.
Yeah, man.
Or part 3, or however many times we've talked, but because I'm just such a fan. I love what you do. We're waiting for the next record, but
yeah, I hope you like it. And I love the stuff that you send me. Your guitar playing is so
yeah. Well, that's now all on Instagram. So that all goes all goes to Instagram.
Well, I always feel very special when I get, the Scotty.
Well, number one, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today. And we'll be looking for this record. Do we have a sense of when this record's coming?
Yeah, we're trying for March of next year. I mean, it'll be ready. I just like, I'm at the point where I'm like, I have 2 records now, so I'm at that terrible part where I'm like, kind of like, oh, I wanted that on this record, but I guess it can't. It has to wait, So we're very close, and yeah, it'll be out on the earlier side next year.
Cool. Well, that'll give us another chance to talk for sure.
Yeah, awesome.
LP, thank you so much
for
taking the time.
Yeah, thanks.